Time is a funny thing. Nothing in this universe is immune to the flow of time and the degradation of entropy, and stories are no exception. Through the millennia of human existence so far, stories have been written, rewritten, mistranslated, misinterpreted, lost, and rediscovered. One of the best examples of this is the Epic of Gilgamesh. The so-called first story was written thousands of years BC and only rediscovered and translated in the 1900s. I think that the introduction from Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time explains this phenomenon well. The wheel of time turns, and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Legends fade to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth comes again. And in the world of Warhammer 40,000, this has not changed. The Emperor's defeat of the Void Dragon during Earth's medieval period became the bedrock of the legends of St. George and the Dragon. Meanwhile, the famous Death Guard ship, the Eisenstein, was named for a scientist of ancient Terra, for whom the proper spelling of his name had been lost to time. The same phenomenon can be found in the book Belisarius Cawl, The Great Work. Belisarius Cawl, alongside Tetrarch Felix of the Ultramarines, his honor guard, and the survivors of the Sides of the Emperor, travel to the planet of Sotha, homeworld of the Sides, that was consumed by the Tyranids. When discussing Sotha's potential for revival, Cawl references the familiar and ancient tale of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. "Yes," said Thracian. He paused. "Your offer," he began disbelievingly. "It was genuine?" Yes. Cawl opened up all three of his left arms to gesture at the landscape, his feet clattering on the rockcrete. "The healing of your world will be undertaken as soon as I have what I need. We wouldn't wish to disturb the mountain spirit through clumsy efforts at restoration." "Wait," said Felix. "You mean you intend to restore Sotha?" "I do," said Cawl. "That's impossible," said Dalus. "You disappoint me, fellow acolyte of the machine god. Sotha is a Middle Ursine. It will be simple." Felix looked at Dalus. Dalus shrugged. "I repair tanks and make guns," he said. "I have no idea what he's talking about with his Middle Ursine." "You are aware of Gurdulak's 3 Ursine hypothesis, surely?" Cawl addressed them all. "No? Someone?" "Really?" he said in surprise at Felix's blank look. "Alright, some education is required. Gurdulak was a scientist of ancient Earth," he said. "She was one of the 13 Apollonians who led mankind away from Terra tens of thousands of years ago. Landing first on Luna, she was instrumental in determining the suitability of alien worlds for mankind's habitation. Her greatest theorem posited that certain worlds occupy positions that enable life to flourish, the so-called zonality Gurdulak. Position is the most important. This is familiar now, yes?" "No, my lord Archmagos," Felix said. "Really? Then, imagine if you will, as Gurdulak did all those centuries ago, 3 Ursines." "3 Ursines," said Dalus. 3 Ursines, repeated Cawl. "Each has gruel for his breakfast. The first Ursine has gruel that is too hot and goes hungry. The third Ursine has gruel that is too cold and rejects his repast. But the middle Ursine," Cawl flourished an array of bionic limbs. "His gruel is just right." Gurdulak used this analogy to classify worlds. We see around us devastation and assume all is lost. Indeed, it looks grim on the face of it. The Tyranids take everything. Life, gases, liquids, certain minerals. But all this is gone from the surface only. "They do not mine, that is certain," said Dalus. "They do not delve. An Imperial settlement would take millennia to exhaust a world like this, even now. Exactly, exclaimed Cawl, as if Dalis was the star pupil in his class. The Tyranids are surface eaters. They strip a planet's surface and move on. Sotha is an active world. As much water is locked up in the rocks of a world such as this as can be found in its oceans. Now, can anyone tell me where the atmosphere comes from? Silence. Come now, said Cawl. How can you learn if you do not think? You, communists, show your warriors why you wear a sergeant's marks and they do not. Atmospheres are proportioned to a world during planetary formation, said communists. Cawl made an equivocal noise. To an extent. Atmosphere also comes from here. He stamped his foot on the ground. It can be liberated from minerals, as we are doing with the limestone bedrock of this area. He pointed at the machines belching out gas. Alchemy gives an acceptable admixture of oxygen, although I lack sufficient nitrogen to make this air entirely healthy. Given a few hundred years, Sotha's volcanism would cloak this world again with gases. Recall, if you will, the days of pre-terraformation Venus, whose own extreme volcanic activities give it a crushing pressure and runaway heat inimical to all life. Again, Dalis shrugged at Felix. Speaking of life, Cawl went on, this world looks dead, but it cannot be. Again, we must look beneath our feet. As I said, Tyranids are surface feeders. In the stone of any living world is microbial life aplenty, although all higher forms are gone, and many of the bacteria down there could not survive up here on the surface. The uniqueness of Sotha's genome is not entirely lost. So you see, not hopeless at all. Even if we left things as they are, which I do not intend to do, for what use is a world of rock, potential atmosphere, and germs to the mighty Adeptus Astartes? None, he said, adding a flourish of mechanical arms to his speech. If we add additional water and gases taken from the rest of the Sothan system, and reintroduce flora and fauna cloned from the vault samples held within the Library of Ptolemy on the crag, then I think we could have a hydrological cycle within 50 years, a rudimentary ecosystem within a century, while something approaching full life could be restored within the course of 350 years, give or take a century. No time at all. But it's impossible, said communists. Imperial policy is to abandon worlds devoured by the Tyranids. And when did Imperial policy amount to anything? Cawl said dismissively. Do you not listen? This world occupies the position of the Middle Ursine. The world is bare, yes? I agree, Archmagos, but with all due respect, said Dalis. But the position of this world has not changed, Cawl said, slapping the back of one metal hand into the palm of another. The solar input remains the same. Solar input is the key in allowing life to arise, or successful terraforming of a dead world. Everything else will follow. Don't you worry, Commander Thracian. All will be well.